On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob and I discuss the new NAR alternative area and what this industry really needs. Let's go. This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective, with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is your co-host, the notorious Rob Hahn. As always, my co-host, the fabulous Greg Robertson.
I'm repping the Charger logo for our new head coach.
Who's your new head coach?
So Jim Harbaugh from Michigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, also a former Charger. So, suck on it. The rest of the NFL, who's got it better than us? Nobody.
Didn't y'all used to be pretty good?
Well,
back
Chargers,
in like LaDainian Tomlinson days. Was that 10 years ago now?
Yeah. No, it's the future's bright.
Future's
Rob.
bright. All right.
The future's bright.
I mean, I haven't followed the NFL really since like 2018, so I have no idea, what's what. For example, I don't know who's in the Super Bowl.
Well, we don't know either yet.
Okay,
so we're still got a couple. Yeah,
the conference championship hasn't happened.
Not yet.
Okay, so who's alive? Not San Diego.
Well, no, San Francisco's alive. Not San Diego. Listen, it's a bitter pill to swallow. The Lions are still alive, which is interesting.
The Lions.
Yeah, I mean that's
Lions?
the big Detroit Lions. Exactly.
They're good.
Ravens. I think they're a great team, actually. Yeah,
Wow.
I kind of have. I think the great story is the Lions, Ravens, 49ers, and I forget the last one, but
wow, I had no idea. Didn't the Lions go like 0-16 not too long ago?
They had some bad seasons for sure. Oh, Kansas City is the last one there.
Kansas,
obviously,
okay, yeah.
Our division, which sucks.
Some of the listeners are like, Rob, what the fuck? Yeah, I don't know. I'm so.
Well, you should be a Raiders fan now with in Vegas, right?
No, but like if I were going to go back to being an NFL fan, I would be a Texans fan.
Oh, okay.
Because I lived in Houston, and when I moved there, I'm like, and I made the switch from being a Jets fan for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
And as
but
far
you
as I know,
moved to
Texans
Vegas.
suck.
Why wouldn't you be a Raiders fan then? I mean,
because I have no reason. I don't.
You live in Las Vegas.
Ties.
That's the reason.
The Raiders they're not from Vegas either. I mean, whatever.
Well, the
Raiders,
Texans weren't from Texas.
In a way, Raiders perfectly represent the city. Okay, they're not from here, and most of the loyalty is not here.
Well, it's like going to a Chargers game. It's more than half the stadium is the other team. I mean, because LA is such a transient place also, right? So,
I mean, I've always under the opinion that the Chargers should not exist. That I think San Diego should not have a sports team. Because
they don't have one anymore. So it's LA
what happened
now.
to the baseball team?
Oh, okay. Sports team, yeah. The Padres are still there, yeah.
Yeah. San Diego should not have a sports team because I've been to San Diego and it's too beautiful and everyone's outside or at the beach. They just don't care about sports that much. Like sports to me belong in like frozen over, cities where something like this is like
Buffalo.
Buffalo, like Lincoln, Nebraska, right? I mean, I think we need more teams like that. Like, I don't think Las Vegas should have a sports team. Like, why do we have a sports team? We're in the desert. It's hot. There's a lot to do.
Rob, the way your mind works is it's a mystery to all of us with your.
Speaking of mystery to all of us, I know the topic you wanted to discuss is the brand new, I guess we'll call it a realtor association. What do we call it?
So actually some news broke out at Inman Connect. I know you're not having as quite much of FOMO as I am, but I saw everybody on Twitter and Instagram taking all the pictures and having a great time in New York. And I was totally having FOMO there.
You were having, I was having JOMO.
Yeah. Which is
joy of missing out.
Yeah, joy of missing out.
Oh, I don't have to.
Is that a real thing?
It is for me. I don't have to deal with New York cold and
the joy of missing out.
Bums and the invasion of I don't have to deal with any of that, and I don't have to be drunk the whole week. Yeah, JOMO. JOMO, baby. But you're having FOMO. Okay, so tell us about the news.
So apparently, and I guess they had moved up this news on stage because of Inman Connect, but two kind of agents and a broker, Mauricio, I can't pronounce his last name very well.
Umansky.
But
or Umansky,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then is it Jason or John Huber?
Jason Haber.
Jason Haber, who was, I think he was leading that NAR accountability project.
That's right.
He got like, what was it? Did they ever break 1,000? Was it like 500 signatures?
It's like 300 signatures.
Yeah. But also, I think he's a Compass agent, right? So
yes.
Basically, two luxury real estate agents decided to launch an alternative to NAR, and they're calling it AREA, the American Real Estate Association, I think. And then along with that, something called NLS,
right,
which is going to be a problem for everybody to kind of mispronounce because N and M are so close. So like the N is in Nancy. So NMLS, NLS.com. Sorry.
Right. National Listing Service.
National Listing Service. Which
formerly
is
Pocket Listing Service.
Formerly PLS, which we'll get to later because there's a news story about that. And as an alternative, and they think that NAR is in big trouble. They haven't really, and I think they've admitted as such, is they're looking for funding.
Yep.
They're not going to have a president or a vice president of this organization. So, and they're not going to like mandate commissions, which, I mean, perception is reality, but neither did NAR, right? So we're going to have to kind of see what.
Neither did NAR. Sure. There was no redlining in the 50s.
A lot of redlining in the 50s.
Yeah.
And, and I think, right idea, wrong people, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
you think? All right,
I
so
just
let's
don't know.
With that. Hold on. Let's start with one thing at a time. Is it the right idea?
I think that there being a organization that comes up to challenge NAR at this time, like what do they say? Never let a crisis go
to waste.
Wasted. To waste, right? So, sure, should there be something that with NAR being in such a shit show right now that somebody should come out there and say, no, we have a better option here. Absolutely, I think that's perfectly okay. Competition is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Let's do it, right?
Okay.
Now, it coming from two luxury agents, I'm not sure, and no disrespect to. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how far he went on Dancing with the Stars, but I mean, no disrespect to these guys or how many signatures they got.
Why? Why is luxury agent like the wrong people to do this?
Well, I mean, that's such a weird industry, right? I mean, I don't think their kind of clientele, is a normal clientele for your average real estate agent, right? So, they're coming from just this subset of this market, and I don't think they have their own reality distortion field, their own bubble. Like, if you look at these pocket areas like Beverly Hills or West Hollywood or Vail or New York City. I mean, it's just not the same as it is in St. Louis, Missouri, right? So
what's so weird about this, Greg, is you live in Huntington Beach, right? I live in Vegas. I got all the elite credentials, right? Like I'm basically like Obama, from a credential standpoint.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're like.
You're a 1%er. And, I feel like we really shouldn't know jack shit about like middle America and working class people. And
you didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up a 1%er.
I didn't grow up
you didn't grow up
And I care more about them. It's weird. Like I feel like the really great people that I've met in this industry, a lot of them are those salt of the earth, middle America, maybe making like $75,000 a year type of people. Like you're exactly right. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of us. It's a little bit like the All In podcast. You know, that
Yeah.
with the billionaires where they're talking about like the working class. I'm like, what the fuck do you guys know about the working class?
Yeah.
But
Those
that's
guys.
us. But having said that, just as a caveat, so you think it's just that they're not representative of the membership?
Yeah, I mean, and it feels a little bit kind of more opportunistic of like grabbing a headline and grabbing some stage time or something. Then like, how serious are they? Right? I don't know. I mean,
Let's
don't
put
know.
this. What would make you say, "Oh, they're really serious"? What would they have to do for you to go? You know what? These guys they're all in. You know, they're really
Yeah.
serious about this.
So, I mean, when I think of NAR, right, I mean, they're the largest trade organization in the country. They are the largest lobbying organization in the country, right? So,
Yep.
you know, I would think that the people that would come forward would be coming from, you know, I always think, you know, an old mentor of mine and, you know, CEO, Stu Siegel, it was always about the people. He says, all I have to do is find the right person to put in that thing. It's going to happen. Right. So, and I think you can resonate from that. I don't just see, is Mauricio going to get really into the policy of like why the mortgage, rate deduction is really necessary, not necessary. I mean, you want kind of a wonkiness there. Is he the brilliant technologist, right? That is going to make an MLS, a national MLS system. And, you know, cause I think there's a lot of innovation. I mean, you know, you and I have talked about this a lot that can happen in the MLS space, right? You especially, do I think they're coming from those types of things? Those two people don't jump out at me and saying, wow, okay. You know, he's done this, and that, and he wants to apply those lessons into this. I think I'm going to kind of take a look. Right.
But could you say that about, what's his name? Chris Sears, the current president, Tracy Casper?
Well, but again, those are leadership positions that were elected from the body of whatever. They're not starting a enterprise of doing that, right?
I get your point. What I'm saying is, if the requirement for leadership of a lobbying trade association has to be either deep connection to, you know, the swamp that is DC, or technology brilliance, then why do we have the presidents of NAR that we do, right? And the answer is, of course, we don't. Like, the presidents of NAR we have is because, you know, they follow the path, right? And they got, quote, voted in and elected. Like, none of those guys have those, you know, it's the staff, right? It's the professional staff.
Well, this is more than that. This is starting a brand new organization.
Okay.
Right?
So you're saying to start it, you need to have that.
I think, I mean, you got to have the, you know, again, the leadership people starting that. You got to say to yourself, I'm interested to see what's going on there. I'm not that, I just don't believe. And again, no disrespect. I mean, you know, nobody believed in me, for Christ's sake, you know, getting something started. Right. So I get that, but I just don't, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Okay. So let's again, like I talked to Jason a couple of times. He seems like a really smart guy, really bright, you know, really bright. I've met Mauricio a couple of times. Seems like a really successful, really magnetic guy. So and I don't really know them beyond that, right? So let's not like talk about them like how they're not right for the job. Let's put it differently.
Okay.
Do you think the idea of a competitor to NAR is good? Okay. Yeah. Who do you think should start that?
Yeah. I mean, believe me, I've been racking my brains to come up with like an angle, right, on that.
Is it like an industry person? Is it, to your point, so I'll just throw some names out. Let's say it was Donald Trump Jr. who starts it. Would that then be like, oh, this is a serious organization because of his connection to DC? Maybe he's not the right person because, you know, obviously associated with Trump. How about Pete Sessions, right? I think he's former, like senator, and I think he's a realtor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
is that someone like that?
And again,
like, who are we talking about?
Let's leave politics out here. I'll just throw out a name.
Okay.
because, and this could be, I was saying the same thing about NAR's new CEO, right?
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
this person right now. She's
Right.
formerly from the Chicago
Right.
Tribune
She's
or
a
something, right?
cipher wrapped in
Right.
an enigma. Yeah.
But exactly. But what about like Ben Carson? I mean, again, politics aside, right?
Sure.
Ben Carson.
Politics has to play a role. If we're talking about lobbying,
Okay, but
then
I'm
I'm
just-
sorry.
yeah.
Ben Carson. Sure.
Right. I mean,
Sure.
he's a doctor, surgeon,
Sure.
very
Former
famous,
HUD
but also
secretary. Sure.
former HUD secretary.
Sure.
If it was a former HUD secretary that really had a background in real estate, more maybe not like a surgeon or something.
Right. Okay. So maybe
maybe-
I can't remember the Obama HUD secretary. I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
But, Castro. How about Castro?
Yeah,
Right?
Castro. Right. I think he was a mayor or something too before
He was
that.
mayor
or
of
something.
San Antonio, I want to say, and then he became HUD secretary. Right.
Yeah, maybe it was
So-
San Antonio.
Okay. Fine. Some HUD secretary. Okay?
I mean, there's something there. At least there's like this connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of like, and that's the sad part nowadays. There's no, where are these
Okay.
like who do you when you think of like to me all I think of now are kind of celebrities, like when you think of
Right.
home, like maybe it should be Chip and Joanna Gaines. Maybe it should be the two guys from
Right.
Property Brothers.
Right,
But like
right.
who kind of when you think about it as like that really does give a shit, is smart, has kind of a lot of experience kind of, doing, I mean, I don't know that name. I've been racking my brains to come up with it, but like,
Yeah, I want to bring this up. Okay, so let's just say the alternatives are someone like a Castro, former HUD secretary, right? Or again, former senator, right? Maybe somebody who was, in DC. There's a political player starting something, saying, "Hey, you know what? NAR's
okay,
got a shit show."
here's another name. Again, politics aside, right? I think I mentioned this before. Let's say that it's going to be led by Michelle Obama, right?
Sure.
Former attorney. She's obviously got the, she was the
Sure.
first
She's
lady.
connected. Yep.
Everybody thinks she's a smart person with good,
Not everybody,
with good
but
values.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, again, politics aside.
Again,
right?
yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's no dumb.
But those are those kind of things like,
Sure.
shit, fuck.
Sure.
Michelle Obama, right on. Okay. And now I'm
Sure.
listening,
Okay.
right?
But on the lobbying side, so here's the alternative name. Okay. I'm just going to give you two choices here. And there's a reason for it. So one is like a Michelle Obama, a Castro, a Ben Carson, right? A DC player. The other is, let's say, Butch Husky,
Right.
right? Former CEO of Coldwell
Yeah.
Banker, 40 years in the industry.
I'm down.
Well
I'm
respected
down.
by everybody,
I'm down.
right?
What about that guy that, God, I can't.
Alex Perillo. In other words,
Well, or what was it? The dude that was over at NRT, Cole Banker, that Ryan Gorman.
Ryan?
Was it
Gorman?
Ryan? Kind of younger cat, right?
Yeah. So my point is, somebody who really represents the professionalism side of things.
Right?
Because
or
those are
like,
the two things
Yeah.
that NAR does, right? They do lobbying, right? And here's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to do lobbying, and they're supposed to do professionalism.
yeah.
The lobbying side, I agree with you and I don't even know if that's like a leadership thing. I think that's professional staff. But if an organization came up, so it's American Federation for Real Estate Lobbying, American Federation for Housing Policy, Michelle Obama together with Ben Carson is starting this thing, and we are going to be the new association for replacing the lobbying that NAR does, right? I got to
But-
tell you, what I'm saying is that does not feel compelling to me. Okay? It doesn't. What feels compelling to me is Butch Husky and Ryan, like Sherry Chris, like these industry figures come forth and say, we are starting a new organization because we need to do a better job with professionalism. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, but again, I think that goes to, having the right person. So that forward facing person, right? I think that forward facing person is very key, and they can have lieutenants that, are, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that. Right.
Sure.
So it's like, it's Spencer Raskoff. Hold on. Spencer Raskoff is building a national MLS in concert with this new initiative.
Sure.
Right. You have those kind of things are going on. Now you're like, okay, well, they got this, they got all those things. But that I think that top person, first of all, has to, demonstrate that, by joining this organization, we're putting together these set of values. Right. And so maybe that top person is more of okay, I trust this person. This person has got a good reputation. They're not going to, and those are so hard to find now because we're so cynical nowadays. And then that is also going to attract the talent that they need. Well, shit, I'm going to go work for Michelle Obama, or shit, I'm going to work for Ben Carson, or I'm going to go work for whoever else. I mean, that can cause a big thing.
I get it, Greg. What I'm saying, though, is I don't get the sense of hunger in the industry for more effective lobbying. That's what I'm getting at.
Well,
the shit show at NAR that you're mentioning is not NAR failed to get a single legislative whatever passed. That's not what the shit show was. The shit show was, hey, look, sexual harassment all over the place. Hey, look, you're losing lawsuits left and right. Hey, look, your governance is all fucked up. Hey, look, we have presidents resigning after like a month. Seems like just something's really fucked up, right? So what I'm saying is I feel like the hunger that's in the industry is not NAR's ineffective at lobbying. I think it's NAR's lost the thread when it comes to professionalism of the members and organizational competence. Like within, like what the hell is going on? Like what?
Yeah.
And I think that's the hunger. And if that's the case, I'm saying again, because I don't really know Mauricio. I don't really know Jason. Maybe they are just as good as a Butch Husky or a Spencer Raskoff is my point, right? Because if the hunger is, we need the realtor brand to be much more meaningful than it is today. Because right now, today, based on like the New York Times coverage and all this shit, I don't know if the realtor brand is something that like, that I'd want to paint my car with. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that like a good brand, or is it now tainted and tarnished?
Yeah, and
I think that's the hunger, man.
Yeah, to me, I agree with you. I think while this is a good, sure, there should be competition, but if I was set out as a consultant to solve this problem and everything was on the table, I would go to, I want to name a new CEO of NAR. The people are going to go, that guy's legit. Mm-hmm. That guy's knows how to run a company. That guy's ethics and morals are, not approachable. And again, we're so cynical. I don't know if we're ever going to do that because everybody's got something. Right. But it's like you sign up like, oh shit, this guy's in charge. This girl's in charge. Well, things are going to change because he has a history. She has a history of making things happen. And, of doing that. That's what I would like to do. I'd like a figurehead there that can also not only, as I know for sure, it is not just me. It's the relationships and the people that I've worked with forever. If I was going to put something together again, I know who to call. Right. And all these guys that do this, they bring in their team and like, okay, we're going to fix this shit. The balls, the game's over here now. We're going to make this happen. We're going to turn this thing around and make, make sure that everybody knows what the difference between a realtor and what a non-realtor is and make that a good thing. Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. And we're doing A, B, C, and D to jumpstart that.
Sure. And again, like maybe, what I think about is I don't know that that's how this plays out. Right. What I think about is like, okay, when the original NAR started, in 1906 or whatever it was, right? It wasn't like one visionary leader, right? Like there's no statue to some founding father of NAR, right? But I've been writing this series on kind of like the William North series, as I'm calling it, right? What we talk about is that our founding fathers of NAR, right? That there were many, many leaders back in whatever 1906. And we talk about like that initial meeting in Minneapolis, or I think it was Minneapolis, somewhere in Minnesota, right? Where like 16 different, local associations came together and they created NARI and all this stuff, right? Like that's in the history. when I think about that, it's a little bit like the American Revolution, right? Like, okay, George Washington was president and he was kind of the face of the revolution, but we don't talk about like there being
Father of the country.
But it's not. That's what I'm saying, right?
Well,
it's always
George Washington was the father of our country.
But he's not. That's my point, right? We talk about the founding fathers. So it's like Washington plus Jefferson, Adams, Franklin, right? Like there was a group of people who came together and then created this thing. So from that standpoint, maybe I look at this as in the internet era, this is how you do it, right? So back then it was like pamphlets and, meetings at taverns. Maybe now it's, Jason and Mauricio stand up and they say, hey, we're doing this. And then what we need to see is the emergence of another half a dozen leaders, right? Who come forward and say, okay, we're in, right? The seriousness thing, I think in my mind is, again, then reflecting back to kind of those guys, the founding fathers guys, right? That saying like, to this we pledge our fortune, our lives, our sacred honor kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think I would be like, you guys are super serious about this if I see some hint of that. In other words, hey, we're going to do this fundraising for $10 million, whatever. If Mauricio's like, here's a check for $5 million, somebody matched the 5. I'd be like, yo, that, right? That is serious, right? And it's already a little bit serious because obviously, Jason, Mauricio, by doing this, they're going to go cross-eyed, right? They're going to go sideways with NAR. They're going to go sideways like, some of that locally, right? And they're saying, we're willing to risk it. And I think that might be the area where what you brought up about the fact that they're luxury agents in very unique markets maybe hurts them a little bit. In other words, Jason is in New York City, which is a Rebney. It's never been a realtor land, right? He's never had to worry about getting blacklisted by some other agent because of this anti-NAR stance, right? Mauricio's in the agencies in Beverly Hills. Now, he's a little bit more exposed to it. But again, like, because of their practice, they're high-end, ultra-high-end, ultra-luxury in certain markets. Like, I don't know that much about the agency. I don't think there's an agency Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right.
I don't think there's an agency Waukesha, right? I think it's like LA, right. New York, Miami, so he's a little bit protected from that, right? What we need to see is somebody coming from like St. Louis or Kansas City or, right? Cleveland, Ohio, right? Where you are in realtor world, your MLS is realtor run. The community around you might fuck with you because you've taken this stance and you're still going to go, nope, this is what I need to do. Maybe that's the valid concern, right? So I guess I'm saying this to say, I think what the industry is really looking for is not the lobbying power. I don't actually think we're looking for like some leader from outside the industry, Obama to come in and be like, I don't think that's what the industry is looking for. I would think what the industry is looking for is more the like revolutionary movement from within of these leaders emerging and say, look, what the hell's going on is fucked up. We're going to start something new, right? And we're going to get this movement going and convince other realtors to join our new movement, which is going to restore honor and do more for professionalism and blah, blah, blah. I think that's really what it's about, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Can they attract, say, another half a dozen big names out of the areas where they're taking on real risk, right? Where they're not just high-end luxury agents.
Yeah, and I think, and some people might call, I'm not sure they call me out it, but if I'm saying luxury agents, in that could be kind of a dog whistle for these guys. Really, their main issue is they don't like the clear cooperation policy.
You think? I don't think so.
I mean, that's PLS. I mean, it's like,
okay,
they just hate it.
Fair.
They just hated NAR because they couldn't do their exclusive listings and get all the commission and not put it on the MLS. And that to me feels like people could conflate these two guys. Oh, they're just, and again, I'm not saying this, but I mean, I've heard this, that, well, all they want to do is get CCP out of the way. That's
right.
That's what that really is what their goal is, and go back to where they could have there's situations, because they're luxury agents, and that was more of a market for that.
Cynicism.
Yeah, I know.
Right? It's Jerry Maguire. We live in such a cynical world,
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, man, like Jerry Maguire is a hopeful movie. Like, show me the money. I don't think that's look. The way I look at it is, I don't. I never. No, here's what I mean. I don't ever feel right ascribing some evil, cynical motive to somebody unless there's real.
I'm not saying it's evil. It's cynical.
Fine. I don't really want to do that unless there's significant evidence suggests that's what they're doing. Right. And I don't think we have that significant evidence yet with these guys. So I'm going to give them every benefit of the doubt. We should have them on the show, actually, to talk about Aria, right? No, we should. It just,
No, we always say that. Nobody's coming on to talk
Nobody's
to us,
ever
man.
coming on. But, hey, if you guys want to, we'd love to talk to you about it.
Nobody wants to be in that part.
I know.
That snake pit.
But I think when this thing becomes more real to me is when I see others join.
Right.
Other leaders emerge. And they need to be from not New York and not LA. Right. They need to be from sort of the middle of the country. They need to be from the Southeast. They need to be much more representative of like more of that average realtor experience, right? I think if we saw something like that, and it can't be two guys. It's got to be, like I said, the founding fathers, think about the signatories, to the Declaration of Independence, like needs to be something like that, right? And we always talk about like the big, Washington, Adams, Jefferson. You have Mason. You've got like all these people who are involved. Yeah. So if it's something more like that, then I think there's a chance. Having said that, let me do the free consulting no one's going to accept. Right? To your point, if you're the consultant, you would tell them go do this. If I were the consultant, I would not be starting Aria. I would not be starting an alternative to NAR.
So you're calling it Aria and not area?
Oh, that's Aria. I don't know.
It's got area, whatever. Like area of a space. Yeah, I mean, like real estate area.
The Asian Americans are pissed off, by the way. Say, hey, we were already Aria. Like, what the fuck? But anyway, like, what I would actually recommend to them is you should just take over NAR. Right? If you could really get this grassroots momentum going, rather than creating a separate thing and raising money, raise the money and get the grassroots thing going and take over NAR.
Yeah, that would be a challenge, just the way the structure is, right? The executive committee, the fucking 110 directors and whatever the hell it is. Yeah.
Of course.
No, I think the best chance is to not to try to do, again, competition is a good thing, but really it's from the inside. You're right. From changing it because the structure's there, just get the right leadership in there and then boom. Right. Now,
I think there's some lessons to be learned from other nonprofit areas. And I happen to be pretty familiar with like the gun world. So like the NRA.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, yeah.
No, seriously.
That's a great example to put up there. This is the guy that's like going to jail.
I don't know if he's going to jail, but he's resigned or something. Like there's a lot of fucking problems at the NRA, right? And like the New York, and again, the NRA is hated in a way that NAR is not yet.
Right.
I think once the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal are done with NAR, they might be hated as much as the NRA. But that's a separate conversation. I'm just saying there's been a lot of issues and a lot of lack of transparency, all this stuff. And there have been attempts from within NRA to try and take it over, right? In the case of the NRA, it hasn't really worked. So instead what we've seen a lot of other smaller organizations pop up. Right. Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation. There's other organizations pop up.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
And they have very specific things, though. Because, again, that world's a little different than ours. So they have a very specific thing where they do litigation. Right. Because NRA is still the big dog when it comes to lobbying. Right. And they still do some lobbying, but their big winning strategies, you know what? We're going to go do litigation. That the NRA really was not that willing to do. Maybe that's the answer. Right. In other words, if the idea is that there's
it's more of a niche thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's more of like a twin, like what does NAR do? Right. The NAR really does three things, if you will. Right. It does MLS, it does professionalism, and it does lobbying, right? I've never spoken to a single person in the industry, not one, who thinks that NAR should not do lobbying. Everybody agrees NAR should do lobbying. MLS CEOs who hate NAR and all the control NAR has thinks NAR should do lobbying. In fact, the way it's phrased is, hey, if NAR just stuck to lobbying, we would have no issues, right? So I'm like, fine, then let's just say NAR, even its current form, even as fucked up or whatever, everyone could just be like, NAR, you do lobbying. What NAR sucks at doing is professionalism, right?
Right.
And again, I've written this 3-part post. So if Jason and these guys want to come out and say, hey, we don't do any lobbying, that's not what we're about, NAR does that, right? We're going to do professionalism. I think there's a room for that. And I think if you're going to do that, you could take it over with it. And then obviously the third thing, the MLS, they're all going to leave NAR anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like that's going to happen.
I like this. So like, I think, okay. So, and I got an idea.
Okay.
And again,
all right, let's hear it.
So, I like the fact that, we're not looking, maybe, I don't think I would go back a little bit. Maybe don't take over, but I love constraints. Like in design, constraints are a good thing. When you have here and here is the only places I can go, right? That's a good thing, right? Because it forces you to think and really put your ideas through a sieve to like, okay, what is the essence of what I am, right? Of what I'm doing, right? What we're trying to accomplish. What job am I trying to fulfill, right? So, and again, this is that whole kind of jobs to be done philosophy. Like, what has this been hired to do? I have been hired to do, whether it's a product, a service, or whatever.
Right.
So, professionalism, as you talked about, right? So, what about a new organization and we, come up with a cool brand?
Sure.
That people would automatically recognize,
right?
Because of our branding expertise, that says, I'm an agent that has at least done 10, that averages at least 10 transactions a year.
Right. And maybe I live up to a code of ethics.
Yes. And I am insured. I'm whatever. There is
whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever it is where it's like, oh, motherfucker, that guy is one of those guys, right? Like it's like a Sigma, what do they call that?
Six Sigma or
yeah. But there's like a designation. Again, I'm joining that. So it's like, no, they're a realtor. I'm a fucking blah blah realtor.
Yeah.
Right. Let me explain the difference to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is like, so when the next listing presentation happens, forget these RCE, LDA, whatever. No, you want some branding and, this is a branding exercise. Right. And you're saying in order to be a Six Sigma realtor, whatever the damn thing is, a 10X realtor is I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And you're like going, fuck, this motherfucker's legit.
Yeah.
Right. And that becomes the new association that, let NAR do the lobbying and whatever else. But, you create this whole different brand.
Yep.
That is in that type of thing. Yeah. I'm a realtor also. I'm here to this thing, but I am a 10X realtor.
I'm a
super
master.
realtor.
Whatever.
A master.
Yeah. And the challenge is
I like that.
I think that has real potential.
Yeah.
I really do.
Remember you were talking about it's like, it's so easy to get into it, right? This industry.
Of course.
We make it all these things, and like if we do that, we've shot ourselves in the foot, right?
Right.
I have to, as a Six Sigma realtor, I mean, I'm just that word makes no sense, but I have to take 70 hours of continuing education credits. I have to have this. I have to do this, but like and when just a realtor comes in, it's like, oh, you're not one of those guys?
Yeah.
Oh, how many transactions have you done?
Right.
Well, I'm bringing fresh eyes to this.
Hey, do whatever you got to do. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, like I said, I don't know if you read part 3 of my series, but this is what I'm getting at. I think that's what NAR used to be. Right. So back in 1919 when they started.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point. Not everyone was a realtor. And it was hard to get the realtor to be able to say I'm a realtor because you had to abide by this code of ethics at a time when state laws didn't exist. Right. So to go out and say, hey, I'm an agent. Like I have fiduciary duty to you. Like that didn't exist in 1919, right? So my argument is, you're exactly right. My argument is, if there's whatever thing, right? Let's try and name it. What do you call it? Let's call. We need a better name, and we're not.
No,
it'd
be a phenomenal. But imagine that, because
ultra.
I will tell you. Yeah, exactly right.
I'm an ultra.
I know from working at companies and then being acquired and seeing just a lot of different founders, like the ones that, like, I only sell to X type of agents that have to do blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Those are easier to sell to. Imagine, like, this organization is probably going to be 150,000 still,
Maybe.
But imagine the conference you're going to go to that. Imagine the people you're going to attract to talk to those types of people. Imagine those are people you want to sell to as a vendor.
Right.
Right. You would set this subclass up of of amazing.
Right. Let's do that. Literally, the organization is 10K.
Yeah.
Okay. There are only 10,000 of us at any time. In order for you to join, you have to knock out the 10,000th place guy.
Yeah.
Whatever
like
our
Premier
our
League, right?
are. Right. Yeah. It's the 10K, right?
Yeah.
Say it's that. Okay.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you do that, you have to go out, and it can't just be like these performance standards. It has to be something more, right?
No. Again, it is a branding exercise that has to be.
The brand, so this is what I'm getting at. The brand, and I've complained about this back in the day.
Isn't like lawyers, like, not all lawyers have to be a member of the bar, right?
No, all lawyers have to be a member of the bar, because that's government.
Okay. So
what's more is, like medicine, not all doctors have to be board certified.
Or a CPA.
Or a CPA. Or in commercial real estate, CCIMs.
Right.
Right. So I think what I'm getting at is, it could be education, could be a lot of things, but what the important point I'm trying to make here is, when we think of brand in real estate, we far too often think it's just a name, it's messaging, it's colors. Nah, a brand is a promise.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever that promise is, it has to be, we are so much more competent than the realtor, right? We are so much more ethical than the realtor. Whatever it is, you got to make some promise. We're funnier.
Yeah.
We're so much funnier than you actually have to live up to that and deliver that brand.
Yeah.
If you can do that, that's true differentiation. And I think some new thing could try and arrive at that.
Yeah, and I would
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I just think I like the fact of, like, I would use this branding in relation to, I am a ex-realtor.
I'm a 10K.
I am whatever. And well, I always think 10K Reports was a brand back in the day, but whatever it is, yeah. But yeah, a 10K realtor, whatever realtor.
Whatever.
But use it like that. Are they ask the next agent if they're that? No, they're not.
Right.
Let me tell you
about that. In order
that.
to become this, you have to go through this.
Right.
I needed 3 years of education, 5 years of training. I need to do 20 deals a year. I need to, I need to maintain a 4.5 star rating or whatever the fuck, right?
I mean, it is like it is an ethical, some sort of thing, but really transactions is almost number one, right? Because that's the problem I think a lot of people have with realtors, or they just haven't, they don't have the experience, right?
No, yeah. I think the problem that most people have with realtors is that they're not trustworthy.
Right. Okay.
Right. The shitty experience that consumers have with realtors is they come in two forms, in my experience. One, the realtor never communicates with them. It's like, after you sign the listing agreement, they just fucking disappear. You never hear from them until the closing table. That's first complaint. And then because I've seen this on Reddit and stuff. It's like, my realtor never calls me. I'm emailing him. I'm calling my realtor. My realtor's never. So that's number one. The second one is, my realtor screwed me. Right. I trusted my realtor, and then I bought the house, and then I found out I overpaid by $100,000 because the seller was his cousin's. It's shit like that. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue your number one thing has to do with their experience. I don't think an experienced realtor does not communicate with their client on a regular basis.
Maybe. Maybe it's related. I'm just saying, I've never seen consumer complaints through like Reddit and internet and all this stuff where they complain about my realtor was inexperienced. I've never seen that complaint. What I've seen is my realtor's uncommunicative, and I've seen my realtor's crooked.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm saying you fix those two things, and then I think the experience thing becomes just a bar you got to clear. In other words, like, hey man, you could say you're really honest, you could say you're really ethical, and you could say that you're really communicative, but you've done 2 deals. Like,
Yeah.
Congratulations on being communicative.
You could take
over 2 deals, right?
You could take also from, in order to be, just to use your term, a 10K realtor, every transaction I'm graded on by my last
peers.
thing.
Right.
And if I don't have a 4-star rating
Right.
from my clients and my peers, I'm out.
Sure. Something.
So you just put it there like, Jesus Christ, why would I work with another person who does not have this extra kind of thing? Yeah.
Right. Something.
I like it.
Whatever,
I like it.
Whatever it is, my point is, if you have that focus, then the code of ethics, then the brand promise of that brand, 10K, has to be whatever it is, and then you have to deliver it. Here's the point I would make on this, and then, because this is a fascinating conversation. This is what I truly believe. I think if Mauricio and Jason or whoever, right, whoever started this, the founding fathers, the new founding fathers, and now that we're in 2024, it's founding fathers and founding mothers. Because back in 1909, it was founding fathers. Yeah. Let's be honest about that. The founding parents of this new 10K whatever thing, if they actually could pull that off and just sort of like forget NAR, leave all that shit alone and just do your thing, I think within the next, let's call it 5 years, I think that organization takes over NAR. Because I think the MLS is split off. We've talked about that already. Like, given all the lawsuits and I think the MLS will split off. And I think NAR will see their membership plummet. Absolutely plummet.
Right.
Right? And then it becomes, okay, now the whole realtor thing, it's always been meaningless. And if we're down to 100,000 realtor members left because they're the hardcore junkies, the problem is they're hardcore junkies, the current sort of chaos organizational regime and this nonsense. Nobody cares. I think what ends up happening is that 10K goes, oh, you know what? It's time. Let's expand our membership to 100K. And we'll just take over NAR.
Right.
I think that's actually what could end up happening. So, again, I don't know if Mauricio and Jason are the right guys to do this. They might be. I mean, they're the ones who stood up. I would like to see other realtors, other agents, other brokers join them. And then we can evaluate what that looks like based on the movement, right? Because, like I said, the American Revolution wasn't George Washington fathered the country, right? It was more like 50, 100 guys, 100 local leaders coming together. Samuel Adams, it's a lot of people, right? And I think we want to see that. Because if we're not having that, then what it means is not enough people give a shit.
Yeah.
Right? And if that's the case, then that's fine. Like, we don't have to, the world will be fine without NAR, and people bitch and complain. And then if it's a big enough problem, then you'll rise up and then create something to take its place. But I do think there's something to be said. Forget lobbying. NAR does a great job of that. Forget MLS. The MLSs exist. Focus on professionalism.
Yeah.
Just focus on that.
Before we wrap, I want to just bring 2 things up, almost a little bit of a follow-up from last podcast.
Yeah.
We talked about those who do, those people or organizations that cut deals early usually get the better deals. And Ryan Schneider, CEO of Anywhere, was on stage at Inman talking about how they look at their settlement on the Anywhere settlement on the Sitzer Burnett thing, puts them at a competitive advantage.
Of course it does.
With other ones. And we you and I both agree about that, but that's an example of hey, do something, and as I say, the cavalry isn't coming. You have to kind of have your own kind of thing.
Yeah.
In another area, recently it was announced that a couple MLS organizations that break ranks with the lawsuit that's currently in there with PLS. Mm-hmm. They have asked the judge to stay some of the deadlines because they have reached a settlement in spirit with PLS, and that's CRMLS, Bright, and I think MRED. Now, if that is accepted, the only one left is NAR. So in a sense, they've broken ranks with NAR, these MLSs. And again, I think we've been saying this. I mean, sometimes you have to watch out for yourselves. And I think that, when you do these early ones, those are the ones that get the better deals. And that's starting to happen there. So we might see some movement. So I just wanted to bring those two up as a piece of follow-up from our last episode.
Excellent points. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I've been calling that for how long now? It's like, it's going to happen. So I think in wrap up, say, hey, you know what? Power to you, Jason Mauricio. Good luck. You heard our free advice, which is worth exactly what you paid for it. I think you should focus on just forget everything other than ethics. Forget everything other than professionalism. Give yourself that
constraint. Constraints are a good thing.
Right. Just do that and then figure out like what that looks like. And here's the thing. It can't be the two of you. It can't. Right. If this becomes Jason and Mauricio's crusade, this will never work. This has to be some larger group. I'm not saying it has to be a majority of people out there. It's never the majority. But you are going to have to find other leaders who want to join your crusade, right? And bring their gifts and their talents and their commitment to this. And in order to do that, I think because we live in such a cynical world, you are going to have to show a little bit of a sacrifice, right? Like, you going out and saying, we're trying to raise money. Start with you, man. Start writing checks. Because other people are much more willing to write checks if you're writing checks. If you're not, then when you're not taking the chance, why should other people? It becomes like that. So that would be sort of my parting thoughts on that. If you need like a CEO for a national organization, who's really well respected and well liked in the industry, I mean, I could think of, somebody on this podcast right now.
Right. Yeah. Good Lord, bro.
Hey, man, you could do a lot worse than Greg Robertson as CEO of this national.
You could do a lot better also.
In any event, hey, thanks everybody for listening to us yammer. Appreciate it, and we will see you next time, hopefully with an important guest with actual real updates.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Oh, good. Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Perfect.
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Listen, content is everything. Two Brothers Creative makes it look easy. Right now, business owners really only have two options. The first option is hire a big firm. Now, this big firm's going to come in, make you think that they invented all the algorithms, and start charging you thousands of dollars every month. You don't want to do that. Second option is to do it yourself. Well, that means you got to learn SEO, SEM, copywriting, marketing techniques on the web. You should be really focusing on your own product. But now there's a third option. It's called Content in a Box. Give Two Brothers Creative 30 minutes a week and they'll handle everything. Plus, they'll show you how to bring it in-house later on. They'll rebuild your marketing foundation and give you tools and techniques and a new marketing playbook that'll actually produce real results and help you grow your business. Two Brothers Creative will give you the confidence and know-how to tell the SEOs and SEMs and all those other acronyms to get fucked. You're in control now. Get started today at thecontentbox.com.